All right, let's go to Ted Hayes now. As I point out, he's a member of the Project 21 Black Leadership Council. He's best known for his activism locally in Los Angeles. He has helped the homeless. He has provided initiatives and empowerment among the homeless population of Los Angeles. One of the things I think is interesting here on his resume is that he created an innovative dome village, a great way to build housing. Is with domes. It's one of my favorite things. It's always been kind of a hobby of my family, playing around with domes. So we'll talk to him about that. Mainly we want to talk about race. He's part of the Capitol Hill National Caucus, a group that opposes amnesty for illegal aliens because of the negative effect the influx of immigrants can have on jobs and on homelessness. You can find him at nationalcenter.org. So joining us now is Ted Hayes. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Hayes.
Thank you, Sir Knight. How are you, sir? I'm honored
Thank
to be
you.
here.
I'm good. And you know, when you're talking about the negative effect that an uncontrolled influx of immigrants can have on homeless people, I immediately think of what's going on in San Diego, this hepatitis A outbreak that is happening there. They're putting a massive tent there. This has been going on for several months. A lot of people have died. Hundreds have been infected, and it's really kind of hit the homeless people because we can't screen people even for disease as they're coming across the border, can we?
Yes, sir, you're absolutely right, and I'm surprised that we have not been hit with a greater contagion earlier. But if we don't address this issue correctly, we're in serious trouble as a nation, very serious trouble. More than we realize.
I agree. And you know, as we look also at the sanctuary city, San Francisco, and the Kate Steinle case, and we see the same thing happening in New York, it's amazing when we look at what's going on with MS-13 there, how they're targeting Hispanic youth who have come in, many of them illegal themselves. But if we don't have control of the border, these people who are fleeing violence and fleeing MS-13 in their home country, there's nothing to prevent MS-13 from following them into all the way up into New York and onto Long Island, or coming into California as well.
That's absolutely correct. And the Hispanic Latino people are suffering more under these gangs than everybody else because they have their neighborhoods kind of held hostage, as it were.
That's right.
And they're hiding behind the leftist ideology of sanctuary cities that they are untouchable. That's got to stop. And there are ways to stop it. And I don't just understand why Mr. Trump won't use the power that he actually has in the 14th Amendment and the Civil Rights Act of 1866. He could put an end to it tomorrow if he wanted to. All he's got to do is arrest a few mayors and it's done.
Yeah. Exactly. And I don't understand why, as you're talking about, you know, what they're saying they got to do something about MS-13. We've had Attorney General Sessions say, yeah, we got to do something about it. And yet they've got these people, they got tattoos all over their face. There's no question that they're an MS-13. They're there illegally, and they're victimizing the Hispanic community, saying join or die. Or, you know, you got a rivalry because of boyfriend or girlfriend. They kill these people, and it's horrendous what they're doing to these kids, the way they're butchering them. They're not just killing them, they're butchering them and doing it in a very sadistic way, torturing them to death.
Yeah, cutting their heads off, all kinds of horrible things that they do.
Yeah.
You know, the problem here, though, the reason why we have not been able to stop MS-13 because of their skin color, their brown skin color. And what they do, they say to guys like you, an Anglo-English-speaking white guy, patriot guy, they call you a racist because you want to force your laws. And you say, well, why am I a racist? They say, well, look at my skin color, because you treat us the way you treated the blacks. And so what happens, because black and white people in this country have not been healed from that old racial wound that we were born with in July 4, 1776. The socialist element has taught these young people to play on the so-called white guilt of white American men. And I know there are ways that we can actually stop that, and that's what I'm working on.
And that's why I wanted to get you on, because you got an article on the Daily Caller. The New York Times is feeding racial animosity and ignoring racial healing. Tell us about that, what they did specifically, the article that you're referring to.
Well, there's a professor in New York City at the University of New York. I forget his name fully right now. It's kind of hard to pronounce. But the point is, he said, oh, here it is, Professor Ikau in Yanka. He is a professor at the Hebrew University in New York, and he says that he's teaching his children that they cannot be friends with white children, flying in the face of what Dr. King and all of us have dreamed of. He says that you cannot trust white people. He says you can have a beer with them, maybe, and have a little party or do a little contract business agreement. But he says, but you really cannot put your heart into these people because of their history with black people, the way they treated blacks and people of color. And wow. This guy is well, what he's doing what the Palestinian terrorists are doing. They're teaching their children to hate Israelis and to hate Jewish people from childhood up. This is wrong.
That's right. He's taking exactly the tactics that have been used in Nazi Germany against Jewish people and then using them to foment division in this country as well. You're exactly right, Ted Hayes. We're talking to Ted Hayes. You can find him at nationalcenter.org. Stay with us. We'll be right back. We're going to ask, is it okay to be white? We're told over and over again that it's not. I mean, we got to do something to heal the racial divisions in this country instead of continually picking at them and exacerbating them. Ted Hayes is going to be with us. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
You deserve a deep, restful sleep with Knockout by InfoWars Life. Our organic formula is made from high-quality natural ingredients such as valerian root extract, L-tryptophan, lemon balm leaf extract, and melatonin. Knockout packs a powerful punch to get you through the night and achieve proper sleep. Millions of people around the world experience daytime drowsiness, but with the rapid speed of life, we need to be able to keep up the pace. Our natural mixture harnesses the power of 10 known ingredients to let your body relax and get the sleep you need. Wake up refreshed and take on the day. InfoWars Life wants to bring you a sleep support formula that goes above and beyond other leading brands at an affordable price. Get the sleep you deserve and experience the power of Knockout. Head on over to InfoWarsLife.com and say goodbye to fatigue. That's InfoWarsLife.com.
Men, give your body the support it needs with InfoWars Life Prostagard. It's time to start assisting the body in regulating proper prostate balance. InfoWars Life has set out to bring you formulations that are not only the highest quality out there, but formulas that you can use on a daily basis to give your body the natural herbs and extracts that our experts recommend. The Prostagard formula does just that, with its mixture of plant-based nutrients and antioxidants that help give your body total support. It's a hand-selected blend of saw palmetto, lycopene, plant sterols, zinc, vitamin D3, selenium, and copper. Prostagard is something that the men on the InfoWars crew take every day. And from our research, it's something that men should really be adding to their daily regimen in order to keep their body going at optimal levels. Now's the time to start naturally supporting your body. Get Prostagard on your side today, exclusively at InfoWarsLife.com. That's InfoWarsLife.com.
Dr. Group, you developed Living Defense for us. It took you over a year to do it. Why is this so good?
Because people are actually waking up to the problem that pretty much scares me the most. I mean, I try to make sure that I don't put toxins from food and water and beverages in my system. But right now, we're dealing with massive parasites, which is anything that's harmful to your body that lives off a host mechanism. Right now, with all the refugees, spreading disease around. We have biological warfare going on everywhere. These are all parasites.
Tell us about all the stuff that said. There's so many things that are in it.
You have the neem in there. You have the organic clove bud, the organic wormwood. I recommend doing a parasite cleanse at least twice a year.
All right, well, I'm glad we've got some back in because I'm going back on it today. It just came back in yesterday. Living Defense, InfoWarsLife.com. And folks, you can't lose. It's full of stuff that's great for your body, period. And you support the broadcast, InfoWarsLife.com. Thank you, Dr. Group from the Global Healing Center. Thank you so much for all your work, sir, on this great product.
It's Paul Joseph Watson, and the t-shirt has finally arrived. Nothing triggers safe space snowflakes more than this slogan and my face. It is the new t-shirt from InfoWarsStore.com. Conservatism is the new counterculture. You've seen how much this triggers the safe space snowflakes. The left controls culture. They control arts. They control entertainment. They have the complete monopoly on culture, which is why conservatism is the new counterculture. We are striking back in the culture war. This triggers snowflakes like nothing you've ever seen in your life. You've seen how much they absolutely hate the image of my face and that particular slogan, conservatism is the new counterculture. This t-shirt is not only a conversation starter, it will trigger the holy hell out of leftists. It will make me incredibly happy. It's available right now. Get yours at InfoWarsStore.com.
You're listening to Real News with David Knight.
It will trigger the holy hell out of leftists. It will make me incredibly happy. It's available right now. Get yours at InfoWarsStore.com.
You're listening to Real News with David Knight. He's not sorry when snowflakes can't handle the truth. It's your host, David Knight.
Welcome back. I'm David Knight, and we're talking to Ted Hayes. I want to get back to his article that appeared on Daily Caller. The New York Times is feeding racial animosity and ignoring racial healing. And, of course, it's not just the New York Times. We're seeing this happening all over universities from coast to coast. We see it at University of Connecticut. We see it in Washington universities, and we also see it right here in Texas. So it's all over both coasts, in the middle. It's everywhere. It's what we're seeing. It's the environment that we now live in. We are now seeing active racism encouraged. And I'm glad to see that Ted Hayes, who's a member of the Project 21 Black Leadership Network, part of their National Advisory Council. You can also see him at nationalcenter.org, but also project21.org. Before we get back to this, Mr. Hayes, tell us a little bit about Project 21.
Project 21 was created by Amy and David Rittenauer out of their National Center for Policy Research Center, because they felt that, you know, when you hear racial incidents in the country, it's always the leftist blacks, those who are rather controlled by the leftists, and they spew that puppeting talk that they do, those talking points, and there's no response. So what Amy wanted to do was give people like myself, black men and women in the country who have a different point of view and a love for America, to be able to stand up and counter some of the stuff that's going on. That's what Project 21 does. But we're going to get more aggressive, as I understand. We're going to start being more activists and going after people instead of waiting for them to do an article. We're going to write articles, put them out there, make them respond to us for change.
That's good. And, you know, there's a lot of black conservatives out there, but they always get shoved to the side by the establishment. Just take a look at what happened at the African American Museum, where they shoved Clarence Thomas aside. I think he's one of the best justices that we got there, if not the best. I don't know. We haven't seen much from Neil Gorsuch. I read some stuff that was very good earlier. But they shove him off to the side because he's a black conservative. You're not allowed to take a look at Clarence Thomas.
But David, you know, I hear that. I know the enemy is across the field. There's no question about that. We can go all day about how bad the enemy is. The reason why the enemy is getting away with this stuff is because our side is not organized. The black conservatives are just not organized into a body politic. We're a bunch of lone rangers. We're all running around here doing radio and television shows, and we're making commentation, but we're not organized. And so therefore, when we go to an establishment to get something done, we go as individuals. But if we went as an organized body politic, you better believe they'll have to cover us, especially if we get more aggressive and do like the leftists do. They put their bodies on the line. I'm an activist. I cause things to happen. I've been thrown in jail on numerous occasions in actions of civil disobedience. Until you're willing to put your body, your name, your reputation on the line, your talk is nothing but rhetoric. That's why we're not winning.
I agree. That's absolutely right. And that's why I think it's important. You know, we see that, especially with conservatives. To a lesser degree with libertarians, they're more likely to go out there and put their body on the line or something for a principle. But as people who are conservative or libertarian, we're looking at people as individuals. We're looking at ourselves as an individual. And so we're at a bit of a disadvantage when it comes to the people who are more of a socialist or communist perspective. They think collectively. And so we've had G. Edward Griffin, the guy who talked about the Federal Reserve, said we have to work collectively for individual liberty. And that's a hard thing for many of us to embrace, isn't it?
Well, and it should not be, because that's exactly what the Founding Fathers is trying to tell us in the first place. If you read the Constitution, the number one statement, the number one document of the Constitution is the preamble. It doesn't say I to U.S. citizens. It says we the people. And if you look at the Declaration of Independence and if you look at the Constitution, you never hear the word I or me. It's always we. We are the owners of collectivism for individual liberty, not those guys. They stole that from us.
That's right. And it's the right of the people.
Yes,
right?
sir.
And that's when we're talking about individual rights. They couch it in the terms of the people, the collective people, as opposed to the government that's going to try to take away those rights.
Yes, sir, absolutely. So what we're doing is trying to get the black conservatives and Republicans to organize into a body politic. And we need to run a campaign of honesty. One of the problems that we have in our country is whenever there's a racial incident that goes down, it's always the black guys of the left telling the white guys of the right that they are racist, they need to transform, reform themselves, and you white guys take it. You take it. You took it. It started in 1968 when Dr. King was assassinated. I never seen such a thing where white people were crying and upset over this black man being killed. Their hearts were bleeding. But instead of Jesse Jackson, the Reverend, taking the power of God to heal the wound of our white brothers and our black brothers, they agitated it and came up with this whole crazy phrase called white guilt, when in actuality, it's black guilt being fomented upon white people who are insecure about who they are in this country.
You're absolutely right. And when we look at where the term white privilege came from, that came from Bill Ayers and Bernardine Dorn and the Weather Underground. That was a Marxist tactic to divide and conquer. In Europe, they do it along economic lines. And in America, they tried that and it wasn't as successful. So they said, we've already got this division. As you pointed out, we have this, we need racial healing that goes back to the foundation of our country, the slavery that we incorporated in and kept for a while before we got rid of it. And so they knew that that was a division that they could pick at and they could exploit. And that's what the Weather Underground, the communist white liberals, that's what they chose to use to create division.
And they themselves are not racist, but the socialists, they could care less what color you are or what issue is, as long as they could take the issue to destroy this great bastion of capitalism and freedom. And they will use anybody. They'll use gays. They'll use the illegal aliens. They'll use animals if it will destroy this country. And see, we as black, I was saying that Johnny Reb and Billy Yank, we need to get together, man, because our country is under siege right now.
That's right. That's right. And this article that you're talking about here, the one that was put out on the New York Times, it was an op-ed piece from Ikao Yanka.
That's him.
And it was like, can my children be friends with white children? And of course, he's saying no. He's saying, no, you have to pay attention to their skin color. And we've seen the same thing happening across this country with editorials that have been put out, attacks against people who are trying to speak there, just to put up the idea, put up signs, say, it's okay to be white. Just that statement there outrages the left, outrages the establishment media, outrages the universities across this country.
You know, a lot of people come into this country, so-called people of color, and they're saying that Americans, particularly white men like yourself, you're a bunch of racist Nazis and Ku Klux Klanners. Well, if that is the case, why the heck are they coming here? I don't remember Jews trying to get into Nazi Germany. They were trying to get away. What it is, my brother, is that these people are jealous of what white men have been able to accomplish in this country. Their brown, black, red, yellow men could not do it. That's why they come here. And you white guys need to stand up and tell them, yeah, you know what? If that's how you feel about it, fine. Get the hell out of my country.
That's right. They want what we have, but they don't want the system that gave it to us. And it's not a perfect system. It just happens to be the best system, and it can be fixed. It can be refined. It's constantly being changed. But instead, as we've seen now, especially in this last year, going in and trying to tear down the foundations of the country by trying to tear down the statues and the memorials and that type of thing, attacking the national anthem. That's what they're really after. They're going after the symbols to try to take down the foundations of this country, and they're going to throw out the baby with a little bit of bathwater here that is left here. Instead of focusing on how we can make things better, they want to focus not on the slavery that is currently going on in Libya, that was created by the policy of Hillary Clinton and the left. They want to ignore the slave auctions that are now happening and other things like that and just focus on what happened in our country 200, 300 years ago.
You know, David, I hope I can come back in the future because we're talking in a lot of generalities right now, and I have some ideas and some ways in which we can fix this thing. For example, in 2008, were you aware that in 2008, Congress passed a resolution, a simple resolution, stating that they acknowledged chattel slavery, they acknowledged the wrongs of Jim Crow, they acknowledged the generational damage that is done, they apologized, and they called for reconciliation. Were you aware of that in 2008?
Yes, they didn't. Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Well, the African American leadership chose to keep that quiet. because they knew that if black people across the country knew that white people, representatives, had made such a statement, it would have opened up doors of communication. When I shared it out here in LA with young black street thug kind of dudes, I told them they were excited. They didn't believe that it was possible. See, and this guy...
That's very important. Hang on, stay with us. We're talking to Ted Hayes. We've got one more segment, Ted. We'll be right back. I'm David Knight, and give us some specifics when we come back. We'll be right back. I'm David Knight.
Matt in Ohio, you're on the air. Another Matt, go ahead.
Yeah, hey, listen, I just wanted to say real quick, I'm a longtime listener of InfoWars, and I just wanted to say that the T-shirts that you guys are offering are absolutely fantastic, and that really is a great way to deal with this battle in the InfoWar. It might seem like a simple thing, but particularly these slogan T-shirts that you guys got up right now are absolutely amazing.
Well, thank you. My favorite new one is the "Don't Tread on Me," but instead it says "Won't Tread on Me," and it's a big Dayglow snake, Gadsden snake, and then it's got the American flag, Infowars.com on the right arm. I mean, that's a great way just to meet like-minded people and spread the word, and also exercise free speech. And the newest one is Trigger Warning T-shirt. Trigger Warning T-shirt, which is the symbol of a trigger with a yield sign, and then Infowars.com on the back. That is the new shirt of the month, available exclusively at InfoWarsStore.com. There's a huge cover-up. They admit there's a cover-up. The timelines are all different. But Shepard has dug into this at IntelHub.com. His stories on Infowars.com have been linked by Drudge and have really helped expose the fact that we're being lied to. We know we're being lied to, Shepard, but up front, your best analysis, and then get into some of the other new anomalies and things that are just so bombshell. Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely, Alex. It looks like the same type of operation that we saw during 9/11. We're seeing some anomalies in the flight data, in the radar data, and these flight records are really interesting. Between 9:40 and 9:41 p.m. that night, October 1st, 3 Airbus EC-130 helicopters, they're owned by Mustang Leasing LLC. Now, I'm not saying anyone's involved in anything. I'm just reporting on what happened. They took off from their location at 6075 South Las Vegas Boulevard, which is also a Maverick Helicopters location. Coincidentally, they came into a hover just over by the Mandalay about 9:50 p.m. Okay, that's 15 minutes before the shooting. Now, where they went into a hover at is exactly, if you were at the Route 91 venue and you were looking over toward the Mandalay Bay, toward the Delano Towers, and you were looking in between those towers, you would see just right in between those towers.
Corridor.
These helicopters literally came to a hover at 10 till the hour, right in that sliver, and then their transponders went dark.
Oh.
Now, the FAA and the company that logs the flight data says they have no explanation for this next aircraft that I'm going to tell you about.
Oh.
So those 3 aircraft went dark. Now, at 10:22, a blip comes up on the radar just south of the Mandalay. It's disguising itself. It is projecting. It's transponding a call sign for Southwest Airlines Flight 4119. It's virtually impossible. It's absolutely impossible because this craft specifically slows down to nearly a stop, makes an abrupt course change to the north, where it slowly inches itself forward until it comes into an exact hover exactly over the southwest rooftop of the Delano Hotel. We know that in 9/11, they had all sorts of transponder issues. They were running drills. And, you know, I almost didn't want to believe it. I had to go and check them 10, 20 times because it's the same footprint every time, Alex. It's the same footprint.
You're listening to Real News with David Knight.
Welcome back. I'm David Knight, and our guest is Ted Hayes. He's a member of the Project 21 Black Leadership Network's National Advisory Council. We're going to get back to him for some specifics about what we need for racial healing. Before we do, real quickly, I just want to remind you of some of the sales we have going on right now at InfoWarsStore.com. 50% off and free shipping on a wide variety of products. I'm not going to list them out right now, but I will tell you that right now, as we come up to Christmas, is a great time to think about gift cards. And if you get a gift card at InfoWars and enter the code BONUS, we will give you 10% off that gift card. So it's something you can pass around to your friends, to your family. If they don't know anything about InfoWarsStore.com, it'd be a great introduction to them. And it's a great savings, 10% off with the gift card, as well as we've got 50% off plus free shipping on a wide variety of products at InfoWarsStore.com. Let's go back to Ted Hayes. Again, you can find him at nationalcenter.org, also project21.org. As we're going to break, Mr. Hayes, you were talking about how we need specifics for racial healing. And I think about, when I look at this, how far away we are from this. We've got all these universities out there, just like we did at the Texas University down at San Marcos. The guy writes a op-ed piece there. Your DNA, white people, is an abomination. You were not born white, you became white. I don't know what he means by that when he says that our DNA is an abomination, but it really sets them off if you just put up a sign that says it's okay to be white. So how do we get back from that? How do we get back from a system where racist has now become the FU for most of these people, and they're basically giving a free pass to people who really are racist, because racism still exists, but by using it like that, they're basically anesthetizing a lot of people to actual racism. But how do we give us some specifics for racial healing?
Okay, Dr. King said in his speech, I have a dream. One of the things he said, I dreamed that one day the sons of former slaves and sons of former slave owners will sit together at the table of brotherhood. Now, as I said before, whenever there's a racial crisis in the country, our side of the table of brotherhood, we always point the finger across the table. Where the scripture says that confess your faults one to another, pray for one another, that you may be healed. And what has happened here is that we're not going back far enough in our roots. People think, black folks think that white people, Portuguese, Spaniards particularly, and other Europeans, went to Africa, invaded the continent, and ran down some very nice, peace-loving, God-loving black people and put us in chains and brought us to the United States of America. Lie, lie, lie. That is not the truth at all. What the truth is this, that black people are in denial about, and our leaders are in denial about. We put ourselves on those slave ships. We was practicing slavery in Africa. We were warring against one another, not because of our skin color, because of ethnic differences. We hated one another. In fact, when the Portuguese came, they purchased slaves. That was a mistake that Christians and Jews made, was they purchased us. But the fact of the matter is, if we had not been doing what we're doing in Chicago today, back then, we would not have been on those slave ships. And until we black people in America can admit that we had just as much a role in our situation of slavery as white people, in fact, we had more of a role in it because we initiated the conversation in the first place, us and the Muslims in Africa. Until we can get black people to have that conversation, there's nothing you or the government can do to help us. And we'll continue to holler, Black Lives Matter, but we kill one another just like our ancestors did.
That's right. And that's something that happens in every group of people. That's something that happens in every culture, every nation. Here in America, you had the Cherokees, even as they were being sent on that Trail of Tears and deported from Tennessee into Oklahoma. They had black slaves.
Yes.
And they had a slave revolt there after they were deported. It's a human part of the human condition, and it doesn't change based on your nationality, based on your skin color. It's part of the human condition. You see it going on in Rwanda. You see it going on all over the world still at this very point in time. And so to make this just one particular group of people is not only denying the truth, but it's also a very dangerous thing, as this Jewish guy who wrote this anti-white article for the New York Times should realize that once you pick out one particular group and you make it not only acceptable to hate them, but you also encourage hatred of them, that is a very dangerous thing that then can spread to all these other groups in time.
The other part, let me address now. At the table of brotherhood, we black folks have got to come out of our state of denial and admit our role. On the other side of the table, though, you white guys have got to realize your value. You're the ones who created the Underground Railroad that made Harriet Tubman famous. You're the ones who gave us the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment and anti-Ku Klux Klan laws. You are the ones, you lost 740,000 innocent young white boys, North and South, had nothing to do with slavery. Those guys died over and for black people. You need to start bringing it out. And I'm saying to you, David, and to all your listening brothers and sisters out there, come on, white guys, get your chin off your chest. Get your shoulder back, get your head up. You've done some very wonderful things. And I'll tell you one more thing, David. As part of the healing process, if I get the national platform, I'm going to call some other folks in Project 21. Black people need to have a march and a rally for once in our life, not protesting what white people have or have not done for us, but saying, white people, guess what? We thank you. Thank you so much for what you have done thus far. You've come more towards us since 1968 than we have towards you. We have remained static, and that's unfair to you, and it's unfair to us, because if you are destroyed and if you fall, we're going to fall with you, and we cannot allow that.
We know, Ted, as we look at this, and we look at the monuments that are constantly being torn down to try to tear down the establishment of Western civilization, and I would say it's Christian roots. I think another part of this, as we look at the actions of people like William Wilberforce in England, who stopped, first of all, he spent his entire life working to stop the slave trade and then working to reverse slavery. And they were even able to do that in the territories that were held by the British, do that without having a war. And so he was very effective by spending his entire life educating people and never giving up on that one particular issue. And that was based on his Christian principles. And so when they come after white people, they're not just coming after white people, they're coming after the roots of Western civilization, and they're coming after Christian principles. And it was those Christian principles, somebody like William Wilberforce calling us back to our original roots of Christianity and saying, wait a minute, you've got this wrong. As Christians, we can't do this. We must not do this. And it was what William Wilberforce did, that, and others like him, the abolitionists that came out of that. That was a Christian movement for the most part. There were some non-Christians in it, but for the most part, it was calling people back to their Christian roots, because we're at basis a Christian society. That was the argument that they were making.
You said the key word, education. What we need to do is have a campaign of awareness where all of these facts are brought out to the general public in every medium that we possibly can. We need the president of the United States, this particular president, to give a recital news conference on the history of the Democratic Party and Republican Party with black people. We need to bring out the truth as to what really happened. And I believe when you bring this truth out, young people, white, black, brown, red, or yellow, they will come to the light of that truth. We are in trouble, folks, because we have not been as aggressive with the truth as we ought to be. We've been in a denial state ourselves.
You know, and you talk about the Democrat Party.
Oh, boy.
And we've talked many times about how they would always use racism and try to put themselves with the majority to oppress the minority and use that division there to put themselves in power. And so when it was an overwhelming white majority, they would come after the black people. And now as they look at a demographic shift, they are shifting in terms of which group they want to identify with, because they see white people, I think, as the coming minority that they can then persecute for political power. That's why they coalesce with everybody that isn't white. So it's like, everybody that isn't white, come to us and we'll make this a party. That's what really needs to be exposed, isn't it?
And yes, sir. And our campaign needs to point out the fact that it was the Democrats who held black people for 245 years in chattel slavery. It was the Democrats who created the 99 years of black codes and Jim Crow laws against black people. It was the Democratic Party who created the Ku Klux Klan. And now it's the Democratic Party that's bringing foreigners into our country illegally in the name of the civil rights that 740,000 innocent young white boys died for.
That's right. And they want to replace not just white people, but black people who have been here for centuries. They want to bring in other people, other cultures, other legal systems, simply because it will make them politically empowered.
Yes, sir. And if we do not open our mouths and start telling the truth and having marches and demonstrations along these lines, they will continue to outvoice us, and we will lose this country. Remember what Benjamin Franklin said: we have given you a republic if you can keep it.
That's right. Well, it's been great to talk to you. And again, we're talking to Ted Hayes, member of the Project 21 Black Leadership Network's National Advisory Council. Very important that people understand what is at stake here. Very important that we get back to the principles that made America great. The principles of individual liberty, the principles espoused by Martin Luther King Jr., saying that we need to judge people by the content of their character, not the color of their skin. That's exactly the opposite of what the establishment and both the political and the media establishment are telling us now. You can find Ted Hayes at nationalcenter.org, also at project21.org. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Hayes.
Hey, David, thank you. I hope I can come back and do some more. And that's a righteous beard you got, dude.
We'd love to have you back. And that concludes our broadcast for today. Stay with us. Alex Jones is coming up at 11, just a couple of minutes. We'll be right back.